This presentation introduces the first lab in this course. It attaches to some of the course goals, in particular the goals related to actually developing, deploying and testing a cloud application and using an existing hypervisor and starting virtual machines on the existing hypervisor. The problem we're trying to address in this lab is that you as a developer are developing a cloud application and you have a bunch of users on the other side of the cloud application. Doing this, you have a couple of different development options. First option is to develop on your production servers. So you develop and you test and you do that immediately on your one instance of your cloud application. This is a really bad idea. Whatever you do wrong, whenever your compile breaks, whenever you introduce a bug, you have no way of preventing the users from seeing this. You can clone your cloud development environment, having a separate version of your application running on the cloud that you develop against and you test against. This is doable, but it's kind of expensive because every time you start a new machine, you start paying for it. You can have your own local copy of the environment running a bunch of servers internally in your company. And this is also expensive. This is even more expensive than cloning the cloud environment, because even when your developers leave the office at the end of the day, you're still paying for your equipment. And the last option is to have a local virtualized environment. So you basically set up your servers running virtualized on your own computer, on each developer's computer. This is a cheap solution. They need a computer anyway. There is some questions regarding whether you're able to test this in a nice way or not. So you will probably need to make a combination of the above so that you have development on your local virtualized environment and then have some form of testing environment on the cloud as well before you deploy it to your actual cloud application. There are some challenges involved here. The first one is to keep your development environment and your cloud deployment environment as similar as possible so that you don't run into situations where it works for the developer but breaks on the cloud application because of differences in the environment. The test environment, you should also be aware of, is not the same as the development environment. So since you have a test environment in the cloud, it differs from the development environment, and that's the whole point. But the test environment and the cloud application environment should be as similar as possible. But with all these different environments in place, you need a single way to configure the environments and to store the different configurations so that you can easily move between these different stages. So in this lab, what we're going to do is that we're going to set up one in the first place and then several virtual machines in your machine. You're going to build a configuration file, try out two different ways of doing configurations of your virtual machines that fetches the tools from the internet and installs it on your virtual machines. And we're going to take these virtual machines and we're going to use them to create test environments and the cloud application using the same configuration file with as few as possible changes to that configuration file. And that's the scope of this lab. We will do this in 4 stages. We will start by getting a first hands-on experience on doing virtualization and setting up servers. We will do provisioning in 2 different ways. We will set up a multi-machine setup, so you have one configuration file that starts up several machines. And then finally we're going to take all of this, bake it together and deploy on a cloud provider. So, good luck.